Another Sprite-filled regional, but this time we get the chance to see Exosister bring it up on the back line. Don't make 30% of you guys have not smashed the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can climb up the 100K ladder here. South Dakota, Sioux Falls, however you pronounce it, has come and gone. And this is a very, very interesting story for this regional because Sprite was the most dominating force. Wow, you know, we've seen that was the tail out of a lot of the regionals this past weekend here, where you saw this commending huge lead ahead of the curve here for Sprite. But take a step back here and look at this top cut. Where's tier elements? It's not here. All right, there's not a single tier deck in this top cut. Interesting. Instead, what we found here was there were two Drytron decks. And I don't know if these were relics of the past, or, you know, if somebody found some super secret sauce out here to kind of step up to the plate. But when we look at deck list here in a second, you will see one of those deck lists that may or may not have withstood the test of time here to step up to the plate here. Now, we also had one Eldritch Despia list that made its way into Top Cut. I don't know how many of you guys are really familiar with the sauce, per se, here. But it is particularly interesting to see the overall power scaling, you know, and adaptability that Eldritch has actually had to survive here. There have been a lot of Eldritch tops out of this past weekend from what we've seen, you know, presented here data-wise. So I think things get a lot more interesting with that. We also had one Sword Soul. I think this is the only Sword Soul top I have seen out of the new format, and no, I do not have the deck list for this. Could not find any information on that whatsoever other than confirmation of what it was. And then we had one Exosister deck. One of the earlier Exosister lists that we've seen creep on into a top cut out of a regional here, which is very, very interesting. So overall, this top cut feels very, very rogue heavy in a lot of different places than you would really expect to see. And I think it's honestly one of the cooler things about this regional breakdown. Let's pass it on over to deck list. All right, the first deck list we're going to be looking at here is none other than Sprite. Yay! You know, once you've looked at all of these Sprite decks, this all start kind of blending together. So I apologize if I don't start explaining the correct ratios on like this stuff here. But I do like the triple talents in the main deck. One Smashers has become pretty much normal here. No cross-out designators, but we are playing the Crow in here with the Ogres. Ogres become a pretty modern era staple at this point. And you also make your argument if you want to play triple Sprite Elf versus 2 versus 3. I also see Degen Buster down here getting the chance to see some love as well. Overall, it's not too bad, honestly. I like the things that this deck sets up to do. I also like to give a shout out here to a Pointer of the Lotus. A Pointer has been a heck of a card this format, man. Like, I've seen so many players at this point adapting, picking this up. Yeah, you're going to continue to see this card, see some domination out here. So, not too bad. Next up here was our top 4, or I believe this was second place. Should be James's list here. Now, yes, this is a Mystic Mine-based strategy, of course, you know. Honestly, you kind of need an oh screw button in case something starts to go wrong. I mean, you've also got Demise of the Lands in here as well. So, like, you can set all of your back row, set up, you know, your game plan, and you can kind of just hold back and do your thing. Also, you know, Mirjade's a pretty cool card right now. A lot of decks kind of struggle to see the power of this get set up, but once it establishes itself, it feels pretty good. Outside of that, standard game plan with this deck is per usual. You set up as many good floodgates as you can, and then you proceed to drown your opponent out with just continuous advantage of things they can't play the game with. Yay, welcome to Eldritch, where it's easy as no fun allowed for the opponent. So, good stuff. I wish we had the side deck for this, but it was never shared, so I guess we take what we get, right? Next up here was Ethan Schwarten's, a good friend of mine's, version of this deck. Now, we are playing Dark Beckoning Beast here. On normal, summon you add a Uriah Haman or a card that's physically listed in text or deck to your hand. You can only use the effect of this once per turn. And during your main phase, you can normal summon one Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense in addition to your normal summoner set. Oh, okay. We also play this on activation. You can add one monster physically list any of the cards in the text or deck to your hand. And then, okay, so once per turn, discard a card, blah, blah, blah. We don't care about that. Dark Beckoning Beast. Search for opening, search for this, and you know you have your additional normal summon lingering off of this. So you got 2 level 4s or 2 level 2s to go ahead and deploy here. I also saw that Ethan was playing, you know, crossouts with the Dark Ruin No Mores here. This is a little bit different of a take than we've initially seen with the builds. The OCG did do this engine, but you know, it is difference of opinion here, and you don't have to kind of bulk down with divas. It's just one more interesting little inclusion of a card within your main deck here. Next up here is our Exosister deck. Only 4 cards from the side deck were ever shown, and we already had the Troubled Sunny built into this. So, all interesting things to be noted there. Pretty straightforward. The other big things here, Dark Rule No Mores to board break so that you can capitalize and play the game. Of course, you see dear old Dimension Shifter being the reason why a deck like this can hold on to top cut and get the chance to participate, because you need these powerful floodgate effects in order to kind of, you know, adjust and to handle this format, because this deck will struggle. I also like the 1 talents in here. Also, you know, goes and matches pretty much fine, because I mean, they're all light busters anyway. Like, yeah, even Zeus is a light monster, so no problem stepping through, you know, the light circuit so you can go ahead and stabilize and build a board. Good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to see Exosister perform. Next up, this is our Drytron list. Finally, something a little bit different here. Now, this is the only deck right now that I've seen that has pretty much stuck to its game plan. The duelists that had this deck together did tell me that this was the same build that they piloted at Nationals, took it to this regional and said, you know what, we'll be able to stick to the game plan and continue with our thing. I just find it funny that, you know, Sword Soul's fallen so much off the face of the planet here that you still see 1 token collector down here for it. But outside of that, deck feels very, very strong. Definitely a More Factor Pain here is going to get you some pretty good real estate. Turn or main skips feel pretty good, all right? And then just, yeah, your opponent can establish, but then you get a whole turn to go ahead and smash back through. So you take what you can get, but I am very happy to see that this is the path that we were seeing be set up here for Drytrons. Not too bad. Next up, ooh, we got some more Sprite here. I do like the fact that Pot of Prosperity has just become like the absolute carry for this deck. All right, like if you're not playing Pot of Prosperity within your Sprite deck, it just looks so wrong on paper. Also, 30 monsters at this point. Double of red. No carrots, by the way. All right. We just straight extended out our build all the way for maximum hand traps, man. Like 3, 6, 9, 11, 12, 13, 17 hand traps in the main. And then we have carrot in the side deck so we can get access to it if we really need it. Talk about a deck that just aims to set up, laugh at the opponent, and go, what are you going to do? And then if you think your opponent's going to bring in Dark Roll or things like that, just bring in Judgment. Not a problem if they can't, you know, do anything about your field. I also like seeing Dimension Shifter in here. This card actually turns the tables on some of your matchups, which can get you really easy situational wins. And then we have a 13th place deck profile here. Now, Earth Machine or Earthbox has kind of struggled to get off of the ground this format. Now, that's not to say that this deck cannot take down locals or make top 32s and top 48s to get their invite. Yes, this deck can. I think it's one of the more unique decks that you can kind of pick up and take to the regional experience. But my problem with this still lies that it's not super consistent enough to hit top 8 all the time. But this deck does prove to us that you can pack in so much hate into the format with triple Dark Rule, triple Lightning Storm, triple Raigeki, and then you've got Dark Rule No Mores and Talents in here. Whatever your opponent is going to do to you in this format, you are going to be able to overcome so easily because of the amount of hate that is present in this particular build. I will give it to Ryan here. In terms of generalized construction, this feels very good. I do like the little package in here for the little Orca stuff, so you can go ahead and kind of set up for that. I mean, it's also additional machine support that you can kind of mess around with. It all synergizes around what you want to do here. So that is your regional breakdown here for South, Dakota. Quite honestly, a little bit smaller of a regional, but it does prove that numbers are still generating here. You got the chance to see some pretty powerful decks step up, but I gotta ask you guys, if you have done well with anything kind of cool, please feel free to send it over to me on social media, and I will see your beautiful faces back here later in the day with some more cool ass content. Stay safe, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.